Hello everybody, it's Deluxecoff, it's Friday, and you know what that means? It's time for Pauperganda on Twitch. We've got a lot of upheaval in the day today. Shirazman, thank you very much for joining us. Like I was going to just say, we have a pretty different broadcast for you today. I don't have the time because of the new spoiler coming out, as well as a lot of upheaval in the personal life. Nothing big, I'll explain in just a minute. With regards to the tournament today, we're not going to play one. We're going to discuss some decks and just kind of have a little bit of a powwow. It's probably only going to run 40 minutes to maybe an hour, so it's be quick. A lot of give and go. I'll have a lot of time to chime in with you guys and give and go. Anyway, if you were watching on Facebook, one of my oldest friends, literally, I was like 5 years old when I met him. He, oops, a little call there. He wanted to join us and come on board and just kind of be the comedic foil, and he's a great guy, really big history buff, and we had songs planned and all kinds of cool get-togethers and neat little magic-related ideas to come through with. But in the end, him and his family are in town because of Disneyland, because we live here in Southern California. Long story short, some murderous freak show was out really close to where his hotel room was and was stabbing people. It's all over the news, and he has a family, so obviously he didn't want to leave them behind for a silly get-together about a card game that he knows nothing about. But sometime in the future, hopefully that'll happen. That's why, one, we're not playing a tournament today because I'm getting the Kaladesh spoiler ready, which is taking a lot of time because there's a lot of great cards. And we're really close. That's just a few hours away, guys. By the time this is uploaded, it'll probably be right there on Pauperganda's site. Anyway, let's see what's going on. Shirazman, need to know. Good to see you guys. I wanted to go over Greenland. People that... Well, you guys have been following from the beginning, but before we knew Twitch deleted videos, which should have been obvious, but and we started uploading to YouTube, I'm going to be playing this in the near future again because it's just so much fun, and one of the nature parts of land destruction is that barely anybody wants to play against it, so you almost have to play it in a tournament, but that goes really well with our plan because Drake decks are everywhere in the tournament, or so they're supposed to be. Bumped into a few with this build. The big change here from what we were running, first I'll just go over the deck for those that are new to it. We have 14 land. Why, you ask? Well, because we run 4 land grants. Why do we run 4 land grants? Well, threshold matters in this deck because of this card, Swirling Sandstorm. I'll make this nice and big since we're just going to be talking mostly about the cards in question today and not so much a play style. Anyway, it uses a lot of land destruction abilities. We have Thermokarst, Mold Shambler. We run all 4 Olmog's Crushers, and they come out awfully quick. I mean, the optimal first turn play is Forest to Elf, then Forest to Wild Growth, tap the Elf, tap the land again. Now you have 4, and you play something maybe like Molduvia Aslid Moss, and you're off to the races with this backing things up. Crimson Rum, thanks for joining us. JSeg1980, hello. Yes, you finally made it to the stream, and for those just joining us today, we had quite a bit of upheaval. I'll go over it maybe in 5 more minutes, so I'm not too repetitive. But we're just going to be just having a little powwow, a lot more give and go, discussing deck ideas. This one's called Greenland. Uses a lot of enchantments on forest. What I was saying was there's only 14 lands here, given that land grant brings it up to 18. We have Arbor Elf and Tinderwall for just some crazy acceleration in this deck that gets off things like the Molduvia Acid Moss on turn 2. Heck with, turn 2 Thermokarst. That's like kind of the B-, C+ level of this deck. But we do run into creatures that, a lot of times we can't keep up. And so we've got a Swirling Sandstorm reset main. The only thing to fuel it really is the Tinderwall and our Utopia Sprawl. Once you set one to red, you're usually pretty good to go. The gut shot's there because one of the biggest critters in the first time we brought this deck into tournaments, which it went 4-1, then 3-2, had one more 4-1, and then we had like a 2-3. But when we do run poorly, it's against Flyers game 1 and against not just green decks, but anything running Quirion Ranger, Elves and Stompy paramount in that list. Anyone that plays can tell you Quirion Ranger, let me just bring it up here. Maybe you can too, Shiraz. I don't know where Little Fight is again. Let's see. Q-U-I-R. Not the best time for my... can't even spell the darn thing right. Anyway, its ability is able to throw stuff right back into... let's see if I can find it here. Quirion Ranger, where are you? My spelling's like the worst. Here we go. Well, for those of you of the Learning Persuasion. What is that? Quirion Ranger is the foil of this deck because, you sit there and you got this great hand. You're like, I'm going to blow all this stuff. Boink, he comes out. And if the person's lacking coffee, you might be able to sneak one through, or maybe they've had too much wine or something. But this card ruins us. A first turn Delver is not so great because a flyer in game 1 can really hit us. Our tech for this used to be Claws of Wirewood main, being that you can cycle it when you don't need it, and it does 3 damage, and it just decimates anything with flying outside of a Spire Golem or maybe a Furion, whatever that 4/4 flyer is, but nobody plays that anymore. But I was finding that I needed solutions to both, so we went with I made room for Gut Shot main. I did try 2 Gut Shot and 2 Hornet Sting for a while, but in the end, that flexibility of just always being able to do something, always interact. Surprising things happen, being able to block a 2/2 with this guy when you've already got your mana set up and being able to ping that last little bit of damage. Sometimes you can even pay for it with red on the Utopia Sprawl set for the Sandstorm and such. Anyway, don't laugh at this deck. It's a serious contender. It crushes a lot of people against. It does have a iffy game against Affinity, so we really up the ante and add 3 Shamans to the sideboard. Again, against other aggressive strategies, we want to give and go with both Fog Effects. If we don't have that, we want to cycle it to go grab our stuff, hence the cycling ability, which feeds the Swirling Sandstorm. Again, that's why we're playing things like Land Grant, which we normally don't. And probably the MVP of the deck, we showcased this deck on one of our very first Twitch outings, back when we had a lot of technical difficulties. Hopefully we don't have any today. And I thought they would just stay on Twitch, but they got deleted. So from now on, we're going to try to upload everything we do here onto YouTube, so people that can't join us, good times. But anyway, just a second. David Kano 1, have I played against Burn yet? Yes, this deck is not that good against Burn. That's why the next card I brought in was Quiet Disrepair. I love Pulse of Marasa. Don't get me wrong. We love that card here. It just wasn't... It actually was a little too slow in this style against Burn to be coming up, and it just felt like I wasn't... you climb out of it, and then you don't have enough to go. Quiet Disrepair is a very janky, silly card, but in this deck with all these enchantments and things to enchant, it can really keep its value high. And I mean, it's a shock every single turn that you're negating, and then in a pinch, if you draw too many, you can enchant it with Seal of Fire. But yeah, I'm not even given that this still plays just a little bit over 50% against Burn. It's one of those challenging decks. I mean, it's very rogue, but boy, I tell you, it will put Urza and Drake to sleep, and quite a few others. And there's been some Burn blowouts I've had with this because they want a Fire Blast, and a lot of times that's out of their realm because they're stuck on 1 mana or none, and you can make pretty quick work of them. The Mold Shambler comes out in this deck awfully fast. I mean, you can do the math of the optimal draws that you can get out of this, and it gets absurd quick. Again, Forest into Elf is usually the optimal play, followed by maybe a Forest, a Sprawl, making sure to tap beforehand. But the Darksteel Pennant is one of those cards that you're hesitant to put it in the deck, but once it's there and you're playing and you're like, okay, blow up your land. Here comes a Mold Shambler. Okay, I got him on the ropes. Drew a land. That's all right. Attack. They play something else, maybe develop a little bit, and you draw land, and you're like, attack for 3 more, and then you start feeling that, as we all know, that little tide shift, and it's like, Darksteel Pennant, at the beginning of your upkeep, make sure your trigger's set, you search, look, boom, do I want that? Do I want to blow up lands right now? Am I flooded? Am I screwed? This sort of thing. So it's a very catch-all card, and I'm really liking it so far. So the 4 disrepairs might be a little bit much, but between it, I mean, we can handle anything. Let me catch up on the chat here. Love Land Grant says, JSig1980, giving free info to my opponent, but I guess you cannot have your cake and eat it too. And that's true. And I was suggesting in the video that I first played where we did take this to a tournament, I think when we did it live, it went 3-2, or it might have gone 4-1. I don't know. Shiraz, keep me honest on that one. I think it was 3-2. But land grant acts as almost like a concession, because sometimes it's like, blow up your land grant, hey, look at my hand, I got 3 more land destruction spells and you're probably stuck at 1. And so more often than not, instead of feeling somebody digitally like writing down your hand, I'd say about 40% of the time when you got a vicious hand and you land grant, people are just like quit, and they just, next game I'll try again. So, and we're not doing rocket science here, guys. Other than maybe the swirling sandstorm, there's not many secrets we're keeping in this deck. And affordably, sometimes they'll look at your hand, they'll see something like the pennant and be like, oh, this is going to be easy, and then kapow, you hit them over the head. But yes, the new 1 mana hate flyer need to know Kaladesh would be insane in this deck. I can't wait. And we'll definitely be making room for it. However, Gut Shot is really proving valuable because, like I said, there's that game 1, there's so many issues with Quirion Ranger and with Fae coming out, or even like Squadron Hawks or anything of the flying persuasion. So Gut Shot's really proved its worth there. And I really do like Claws of Wirewood because, man, you draw it early and you got them on the ropes and you need that 1 more land destruction spell, you cycle it. However, if they're going off and they're about to kill you and they've got an army of drakes and mole drifters, you drop this, and I've seen some probably 2 rage quits this week when I've dropped Claws of Wirewood late game. They're already hurting on time. They're barely in the tie-breaking game maybe, and you're able to pull it off. The problem with Drake lately is the pilots are getting a little bit more astute with what should I say, just land destruction in general, and so they're very quick to evolve, which most blue mages do, and instead of getting greedy and going for the combo, they're able to kind of outlast us if they draw enough ghostly flickers early and just targeting their own lands and saving that spell. So the few losses I've had, usually never match losses, but game losses have been because of that. Let me see what you guys are saying here. Great sideboard tech, thank you, Nichols. Did I say it right this week? Anyway, so that's Greenland. Again, today we're not going to be doing, it's just kind of a powwow of 3 decks I wanted to go over that I'll be playing pretty soon. Maybe not, because I've got the Kaladesh primer. I'm literally rendering it in the background, and I've got a lot of graphics and such, and trying to get that uploaded while it's current. Meant to have it out earlier, but there was just a lot of upheaval this morning. For those of you just joining us, my other co-host, we call him the folk hero. He's just a super history buff, knows nothing about Magic, but he's a great comedic foil. We were going to have he's great on the guitar, quite the songsmith, and he had a few songs planned about cards he knew nothing about. I think an ode to a wild mongrel, and some Squadron Hawks, and some other people that wrote to us on Gmail about just funny little things, and it would have been epic. But anyway, show for another day. There was some tragedy in Anaheim, really close to where he was. He's fine, but there was some crazy person stabbing people, and so he's out here visiting with his family, and obviously that takes quite a bit of precedent over the link and all that dramas on Facebook, if you're curious. But anyway, next on my list was the deck I was talking about and bragging about quite a bit last week. I think I called it Robo, and I call it Robo. It's a Tortured Existence deck. I just the main colors, R, B, and then W. So I just put an O between them just so I could quickly, I've got quite a few decks, so just a way for me to quickly remember it and such. But I made quite a few changes to this. This deck, I'm just on the fence about it now. I went so strong with it. I think in the first 20 games I had 2 losses. And then a few days went by and I wasn't as high on it anymore. And I went to the 2-mans and I won 7 one-on-ones, which is big deal. People usually play rogue there, or there were some good matches too. But it was starting to go long, and I don't know what it was, but boy, I ran into a rut and lost. I'd win here and there, but a lot of losses on time and just being nervous, and like it's game 3 and I've got like 4 or 5 minutes left, and I like to be the person doing that to people, not the one having it done. and went back through my notes, and it was like, a lot of times in the Tortured Existence world, I love the card and it's very strong, but that kind of grindy wait around and not being the problem is not really my style. I have to really be in the mood to play it right, and when I am, I can play it all right, but I'm not going to have any delusions about it. But anyway, so this is the deck we're discussing right now, and it was a lot. There's a few lists. I know 8686, one of the players, he's what I bumped into and gave me the initial idea when I scribbled down the notes, and then after seeing his deck, very cool. I mean, he 5-0'd with it, so if you're interested in this, you might want to go, with his deck. This one, however, built more for just my playstyle metagame. I mean, when don't you want to gain life? So I run all 4 of these. The Journey to Nowhere is a nice fetch. I run all 4 of the dead weights. This is out of a homage to somebody that played this deck a lot more, Night Hustle back in the day. A lot of his lists had 4 of them. It's even more prominent and meaningful now. I always want to see that. And one of the neat things with Auramancer in the deck is that you're, unlike Journey to Nowhere, which grabs and sticks, the dead weight hits, drops, creature's dead, goes to the graveyard, you go grab it again, and it's good time. So I always wanted to see these. Some cards I tried out. Hold on, let me check this out. Hello, Arch Naomi, good to see you. And David Kano 01, great to see you. He says, I'd like to see a TE style deck that forgoes Tortured Existence for grapple with the past impulsive Marasas. Interesting. Killer Tofu, what's up? Good to see you, man. And Shirazaman, thank you so much for being here, as you always are, my friend. You're kind of our Pauperganda co-pilot as of late. The enchantment package continues with Seal of Doom and Seal of Fire again. You set them, you forget them, you trip them, you go get them again, and then the Gurmag English here to clean up everything. I run 1 Fey Macabre just for the local the metagame now, and being able to pitch something like a Hawk. You fill up your hand. A lot of times I use these as fodder, and you go pitch this. They're trying to go off with a Ghostly Flicker, and you go grab Fairy Macabre, and it's off to the races. We've got a little bit of not a little bit of anything. We got a life game package here. I mean, there's 5 cards that do it. The Missionary is kind of our beat stick. 1 Crypt Rats to clean up everything else. And other than that, it's pretty standard fare. The Squadron Hawk acts as a kind of a hand refill, and for things like your extra Tortured Existence, which in the past has always been an issue with this deck. I drew it, need something, Tortured Existence. It's like, well, Faithless Looting comes in and really plays well here, as well as many of the Karoo lands that are able to bounce stuff back, and you can loot them back or loot this out. And then, of course, everybody's favorite, the Stinkweed Imp, which is like the Rage Quit on wings, right? Deadweight MVP against a Tog. It sure is, Osman. And it's funny. I think probably 40% of the time you drop that on something like an Atog, and I don't even think it's the person making a mistake mentally. It's just that reflex of, I got to do something. And they don't realize that dead weight sits around and sticks. So in the sideboard, I've got the ultimate killer and eater of all antique stores, the Gorilla Shaman. Perilous Myrrh, again, just great. Again, I did have the War Marshal in here for a while, but I was just always wanting to see the Myrrh because it blocks and kills, and you bring it back, or you can point it at people. Really valid. It can take out the Guardian of the Guild pack. Augur of Skulls, pretty cool artwork too, man. That's neat. I don't know. What's you guys vote on that? You think it's dusk or dawn in the artwork of this? Against control decks, you just keep popping and going. We can clean up with Seal of Cleansing, and again, every one of these is fetchable with this. 1 more Journey to Nowhere. Homage to a few losses I had against Delver Fiend. You just kind of have to be running this, and COP if your life game package doesn't work up. The full set of Fays can come in, and you can just cast them and attack in the air, and then the Rat to clean up any token strategies and stuff like that. So Parallax Dementia, yes, I love that card. I've considered playing that in a black infect deck. Since we're just having a little get together now, I'll show you this. I didn't mean to bring this up today, but I've been playing this. This isn't a serious deck, but it does tend to seriously win sometimes. Duress, similar in the modern builds of, I don't know why the artwork is wigging out on Duress. Look at that. She's all huge. It's usually a little more inset there. But Duress, the logic being, first turn, you go grab their hand. Then you got 2 Myers Toll to clean up the pieces. Just gets better as every swamp you play. Throw Retainer goes way back. Just being able to pump in black and then add a you can sacrifice it to regenerate the creature with infect. Full Thing of Unearth. Unnatural Endurance. Good time. Again, another regeneration trigger. Vampire's Bite. So this is kind of our push out the aggro here. With 19 lands, it runs really smooth. We run 1 Grim Harvest with the 4 Unearths and then the 3 Corpse Cur. This thing keeps coming at you, and it can have those draws where it hits really fast and early, and it's like, wow, this feels like green. But when it doesn't, you just keep plugging away with all your goods. This is the worst card in the deck, where it's just there for kind of cannon fodder and stop any sort of mass removal like Electrickery. And believe it or not, one of the MVPs in this deck, and it's not that serious of a deck, Bone Splitter is obviously MVP, but is this guy. There's so many times you'll have him in the sideboard, in your graveyard, and end of turn Grim Harvest, and it's game. You've got a Bone Splitter out, or you top deck it, and it's game, because nobody's expecting a black hasted creature. So I used to only run 1, and went up to 2, and this is a fun little deck. But anyway, what you were saying about the what was that enchantment up here? The Parallax Dementia. I've often thought about that, because let me bring it up here. Let's see if I'm not spelling anything. Dementia, come on, there it is. Again, don't know why the artwork's blowing up like this, but it kind of works for what we're doing today. This is cool because it kind of acts like a giant growth, but then your creature's dead, but then you can also target it on the other people. This is in that category of cute tech, and it's like, wow. And then you're playing it, and you're like, you know what, I've got to go with the tried and true and stuff that has a bit more teeth. So anyway, that's anybody. Again, email us pauperganda@gmail.com if you want any of these lists. We can send you the text file, and you can just drag and drop them. So we went over Greenland, we went over Robo, and last on my list is another deck that's near and dear to my heart, and I will be playing this pretty soon. I call it Delver of Dragons. It's another Tortured Existence deck. Let me catch up here. I'm going like 1,000 miles an hour. I've had a little bit too much coffee here. Gear Seeker Serpent for Affinity, good against dead weight. Let's get that set up here, Shiraz. I'm not sure. Or I can just bring it up here. I guess I can do that. But for everybody else, Gear Seeker. Oh, do I have my stuff set to? Just a minute here, guys. Oh, wait. I've got it set to 0. I'm not seeing that one come up, but am I spelling it right? Anyway, good day, Bloody Scythe. Good to have you. You're a little bit late, but it's no big deal. You can watch the replay on YouTube if you care. We're not going to be in a tournament, so to speak, today. We're just kind of having a little powwow and discussing 3, but now 4 deck ideas. All the explanations later. I'll sign off with a little bit more explanation on it. Let's see. Definitely. Dust says, Nichols, Bloody Scythe, been playing it on Magic Duels. Good times. Pink Person, thanks for joining us. There's a 1/1 for white that regenerates for black. Yes, there is. Not quite sure in what deck you're referencing that. Arch Naomi says, Pauperganda, I love your decks and videos. I built 3 of your decks, Elves, Goblins, and Tokens, and I was wondering, out of the 3, which 2 would you say are the most even matchup? I'd like to play them against each other. Oh, interesting. That's a really good question. Let me see. I would say the best 2, if you're incredibly patient, would probably be Elves, Tokens. Both Elves and Tokens with the right draw can really blow out Goblins, and Goblins can blow out them if it's got the Death Spark draw and the Sparksmith comes online soon enough. It's one of those things, you take stats and you'll have like Goblins winning, like, wow, this is the answer, and then it'll lose the next 5, and like, maybe it isn't. They're pretty well matched, but why I say the Elves versus Tokens is particularly intriguing, just because it's kind of a race to life. You've got the standard bearer tricks going on. In Elves, you've got quite a bit of removal if it's my list with so you can get the longbow online. And then God, I've got way too many decks. I gotta mill this down. And then of course against Elves, one of the best cards is Standard Bearer. If they're not ready for it, this can really wreck it. The big difference maker, if I had to put my life on the line, I would probably play Tokens, just because of this card. I've discussed it in the past, as in this deck, this is a instantaneous flashbackable Wrath of God that's one-sided. It only kills your opponent's creatures if they're playing that way. So just a second. Anyway, but I appreciate the props there. Arch Naomi, I think is how I would say it. And oops, boy, I'm really behind on text. Let me quit yapping and read. Vampire's Bite has a schmexy artwork, says Bloody Scythe. Killer Tofu, Bloody Scythe artwork remembers me of Blastoderm. Yeah, they're Blastoderm art. Boy, there's some good and there's some bad with that, but I don't know. I'm not a fan of the one that I've got. I went to get a drink. What do I got to do? Nothing. Don't worry about it, Shiraz. I wasn't scrolling down on the text, so I was just trying to fill time. I didn't realize there was all these things. Defunk88, thank you for speaking our lingo in all caps. He says it's from Kaladesh, not on MTGO yet. And Gear Seeker Serpent, can somebody bring that up with the MTG bot? I'm curious because I wrote Gear Seeker. Did I spell it right? Is it Speaker maybe? And I can't seem to find it. Our Kaladesh review for Pauperganda will be up in probably like 2 or 3 hours live on YouTube. Just putting the final touches on it, making sure it's quality, because actually the only time the mothership of the magic site mtgoonline.com has ever given us any props or mentioned it was the last set review we did for Eternal Masters. So this whole time I thought they've been ignoring us, but they gave us some pretty big props on that. So that was kind of cool to see. Let me bring it back to the what I was talking about here. It's hard to stay on task here with all you guys. Let's see what's going on here. Bloody Scythe gets to the stream, also gets a phone call. Jay Sig 1980. Yeah, that happens to me almost every time. My phone almost doesn't ring all day, and then like the second I hit broadcast, it's like bloop, and it's usually spam stuff. My cell phone's been getting that more and more. It used to never happen. Prismatic Strands is broken in tokens. They couldn't have said it better, Nichols. That is the truest statement ever. That card is just obscene in tokens. That's why I went from 2 to 3 to 4. It's just you draw it, you win, or you draw enough time to win out of a hand that you have no business winning with. Yeah, J Seg says it's broken everywhere. I like the way that mono black infect list looked. Intriguing, Killer Tofu. Yep. Again, anybody curious, whatever, bored, wants to send us a quick, hey, send me that. We'll send you just a quick little text, bloop, and you can import it right in your list and keep going. It's that train of thought. The black infect list is where is it? Didn't even mean to bring this deck up today, but it's that, it's the opposite of hexproof. It's like hexproof, it's like, you're not going to mess with my stuff, you're dead. This is like, I know you're going to kill it, I'm just going to keep coming. And between like that early game of boom boom, and then you've got regenerate, kill, bring it back, evasion, dumbness, haste, bring it back, go over the top, make it bigger. Just it's good times. So Razaman, there it is. The Gear Seeker Servants is a new card. Okay. I don't know if let me make sure I write that down, because I'm pretty sure we didn't mention that in our list there. Again, we have quite a few cards to spoil today. Not spoil, I mean everybody knows it's out there, but to give our opinion on, I should say. And for the most part, what we're going to do is or what I like to focus on is what I truly think might see play rogue or better. Pauper's card pool is just so vast that it's incredibly hard to, as an entry-level card, it's almost like some freshman card, like, hey, I think I'm pretty good, and you get to the big leagues like the NBA or something, it's like you just get dunked on. And so I think I've mentioned that saying a lot, the new card smell. A lot of times that's never more true with a new set that comes out. So I just caution y'all, have a lot of fun with it, brew like crazy, good times. But when you're truly looking for results, be careful not to look at the card, not the expansion and the newness and the shininess of the smell of the plastic and all that stuff. But so Bloody Scythe says, I wanted to get 2 booster boxes from KLD, but now card prices are dropping because of the inventions, so I ordered only 1. Value is no longer with MTG, he says. I'm not too up on the prices. I know the Talarian Academy. They do a lot of introspecting on stuff like that. For me, it's like when a new set comes out, I usually just go to a bot and I've got so many credits stored up from articles or whatnot, and it only ends up running like maybe $1.50 tops, and you get 4 of everything, and you just don't look back. And then once in a while I'll play in a Mox or something and throw together some good modern decks, which I have quite a few of those too, but that's not what I'm known for. Anyway, for the fire-breathing boar. Yes, okay, back to Delver of Dragons. This is a deck near and dear to my heart. Really like it because it's a Tortured Existence deck that's really aggressive. We'll start with the Dragon Scales. This card, just MVP of the deck. I forget who I was collaborating with. This is like 3 years ago and was crafting this beast, but I was of the opinion maybe 2 or 3 every time I played, just like Prismatic Strands logic, I wanted to see it because it acts as that defensive boost. And my initial assumption too was to play 4 of these and 4 of these, and it slowly went to 2 Hooting Mandrills because it kind of has evasion with trample, but nothing beats this Scavenger. This thing's awesome, and man, when this thing's on it and this thing, it gets pretty absurd. A lot of times you can Raven's Crime yourself, which if you play this deck, you'll understand the reasoning being why. Or if your Stinkweed Imp throws Raven's Crime in the board and it's getting late in the game, you're kind of at a stall point. Nothing like a Raven's Crime every turn to keep them going. We have Rotting Rats, which is just, I love this card. It's growing on me. If you design around it, it's great. And so many counter mages that are counter happy, as we discussed a few weeks ago. Well, they're so eager, and you can tell what's in their hand. It's like a free duress. You play the first one, maybe it gets countered. You unearth it, and they tap 2 mana, and then there's that digital pause, and then they untap, and then and you can almost see them like looking online, like, why can't I counter this? And it's like, you can't counter on Earth. So this is a really nasty card. And usually you want to, pitch your Stinkweed so you can turn on the Existence, so you can go grab stuff. And what's cool about this build in particular is we have 2 Knot of the Bone main, real sneaky card, gets shoved underneath a lot with the Stinkweed Imp, comes back with a vengeance and just gains you a ton of life. So much so that sometimes we almost deck ourselves, which is why in the sideboard we run Battlefield Scrounger, one of the only abilities outside of Repopulate. Let me bring that up. I think I could spell that today. That is able to do this effect. And back when there was a Simic deck way back with, I forget what it used, a lot of capsize momentum and stuff, but it would deck you. So I don't play this card, but the Battlefield Scrounger turns into a 6/6 and is able to just keep throwing stuff back. I have an Exhume deck that I'm using this on right now that we may discuss in a few more weeks. Nichols says, oh man, you guys are going so fast. I have a hastily put together BG brew involving Inventor's Goggles, possibly a 5/6 turn 2 Carapace Forger. Seems fun. That sounds pretty deluxe. Hey, Bengal Bolt, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. I'm glad that you're talking in our font of choice with the all caps. Look at you all, man. This is great. Arch Enemy, you got to put your caps lock on, man. We don't speak that here. And let's see. Bloody Sight. No gameplay today. Nope. We're going to be just discussing some lists. I'm going to be wrapping it up here in probably about 5-10 minutes. And then we're going to, because I've got to get to work on the new set review video is going to be up in just an hour or two. So we should share lists. Yes, we should. This is the Arch Enemy. Yes, this is a reanimated deck, sort of. Anyway, I'll get back to the deck here. So it's a Tortured Existence style deck using Stinkweed to throw stuff out, using Rotting Rats to throw extra stuff out, so that when you bring up your 6 mana CC spells, they're able to just get Vigilance, Haste, Trample, Flying, Good Times, reset the board here. Starter Wayfinder really is a neat card in this deck. It does wonders. The Communal with Nature, if you haven't found your Tortured Existence, this fits hand in hand. And then Grizzly Salvage is there to pick up the pieces afterwards. In our sideboard, I run all 4 Fae. Deck's it can be fast enough to beat Drake on its own, but when you have a natural black deck with Tortured Existence and you have access to the Fae at instant speed, it's pretty broken. So and again, if you're playing Swamps, you can always just cast this and start attacking. It blocks Delver and kills it too. So there's that. We've got the Edict Insurance. I'm really having an affinity towards sorcery-based removal lately because so many spells, as I'll discuss in the primer coming up later today on YouTube, so many of the spells are in the format right now that sorcery is really good. And only for so long, because I think there's going to be maybe a week or two where people play a lot of Fabricate, and so the value of Edict style effects are going to go down, but only temporarily, because I don't think there's many Fabricate cards, if any, that I think are tournament worthy. Battlefield Scroungers, our little reset button. We have one more Knot of the Bone for the burn matchups, or maybe goblins. One Moment's Peace compared to our 2 Spore Frogs. This is again a little loop combo that you can get going to just kind of keep fogging people out. And we run the Silvok replica over what's the standard one, the 4/4 that eats stuff, just because it's a whole turn cheaper when you encounter the activation cost and everything like that. So anyway, let's see, with share list, yep, reanimate. Sorry, is this better? Yes, Archenemy, thank you so much for speaking and all. Now we can hear you. That's right, good times. Anyway, there's one other deck. I know I was only going to go over 3, and we've been over 4 already. That I'll probably be playing soon, which is Bugs and Pigs. I didn't make this list. Slight variations to it. It's again one of the only kind of control-ish builds that I feel comfortable playing. And this is a deck I really recommend if you want to go 3 colors in this in Pauper. Look to this list. There is something magical about this mana count. It just works. It is so rare that you're trying to get all 3 mana on board, and it's smart. I mean, we're not looking for blue till later, given the casting cost of these spells and 1 negate main. But it's a really neat ratio. So a lot of times you can kind of piggyback and mimic deck styles. Maybe you want to make a green red white deck, or green red blue, or something like that. And this is a neat base to get your mana base set up. Yeah, Wickleboro Elder. Sorry for that little mental hiccup. I'm losing my hair and the reference to Magic cards. There's only so many notes I can write down before I start stuttering. There he is right now. He's in this deck, and we've got I put one Pulsa Marasa in here because we've got 24 critters in this deck. Double Grim Harvest. If you're a much better player, you might be able to get away with 1. I find usually you got to eat 1. There's 1 Mystical Teachings in this deck. I've never been a fan of the Teachings for Teachings because I'm not much of a control player. However, I do like the one here to go grab a negate to stop that fling. There's an extra 1 on the board. We've got the Doomblade package, again, Fey Macabre, which we can just cast. 2 more Pulses, which we all know. We all go to the Church of Marasa here at Pauperganda. And Moment's Peace sums it up. One of the most undervalued cards in Pauper is this Tusker. It's a boar beast. You cycle it. You go get a land, and you draw a card. Outside of Eldrazi Green, which I think I mentioned last week, which is what this one looks like. The boar is such a great card, and is my current build of Eldrazi Green, and it's such a godsend when you're hunting for land and such. And it's just one of those cards. I kind of scratch my head, and every time I cast it, I'm like, gosh, why don't people play this? If you have any sort of ramp strategy or the ability to run this, it's a neat way. I spoke about this a few weeks ago of sneaking blue into a deck that doesn't have blue. Bad example here because we do have blue in this deck, but what I mean by that is, like, yeah, you're playing an all green deck, but if you add this cycler in there, you can go fetch a land and draw a card, and so you're kind of sneaking blue into the equation a little bit. So, and he says, color commentary guys love Pig Trinket. Yes. Yeah. I wish I could take credit for this. I've just slightly modified it just to my play style, but it's vastly available online. And this deck has teeth against everything. Tragic Slip, one of the best removal spells in this deck, especially when you're running things like Fume Spitter. Just wonderful. And Nichols, what artwork are you talking about? Oh, probably the Tusker. Yeah, and I've always had a thing for pigs. I love boar and swine. One of these days I'm going to get one as a pet and just call it Deluxe or something. A Pig Deluxe. We shall see. But there's one other thing I wanted to go over. Oh, Metal here. Typical of me. I said we're going to mention 3 decks, and I think we're on 7 now. I played this to a win finish probably a year and a half ago, and I get a lot of emails about this kind of deck, this artifact white weenie. And the reason I'm bringing it up now is that this deck is going to get a lot of teeth with the new set. There's white's really going more the artifact route, as are a lot of the cards, and so I think this deck might see a little bit more play. Just again, when till that new card smell wears off, and everybody's able to smell the cards for what they're really worth. Anyway, guys, as I said, I'm going to jump right on to YouTube and probably just over an hour. I've got to render some stuff out and get some cards going for the new set review that's coming out. Again, we were going to play a tournament here today, and we had songs planned and everything with one of my friends, the first ever on-camera host or co-host that knew nothing about Magic. We did have a bunch of songs planned. He's quite the bard on the guitar, and we were going to just do a lot of fun, practically drinking games without the drinking with regards to Magic. But we'll have to save it for another day because tragedy kind of struck, not him, but nearby, and there was some crazy guy in Anaheim where he was staying with his family in Disneyland, and they went off, stabbed a bunch of people, and so obviously he was a little bit shaken by that, and with a family in town and stuff, didn't want to come sacrifice that for a silly Pauper game or TV show that he knows nothing about, which was kind of the comedic foil of the whole point of it all. But so we'll do that another day. So I was a little bit that literally just happened, and the new set just got spoiled today. So it's like I'm pulling what little left of my hair out that I have. So anyway, so in the next hour we're going to be getting to that. Maybe 2 hours that'll be up on YouTube. Until then, guys, it's going to be a nice quick one today. Again, if you have any questions, concerns, or you want any of the deck lists that we discovered or talked about today, or got any ideas for them, again, pauperganda@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you, and we'll see you next time, guys. Till next Friday, we'll see you.
Kaladesh Spotlight, Vehicles. Marching into battle is one thing. Driving into battle is totally sweet. Kaladesh brings us a brand new type of artifact, vehicles. Now these are quite the invention. Let's see how they work. Sky Skiff is sure spiffy. Each vehicle is an artifact that can become an artifact creature with the help of a brave crew. The crew ability tells you how to turn the vehicle into an artifact creature for the turn. Just tap any untapped creatures you control with total power equal to or greater than the crew number. And because the crew ability doesn't use the tap symbol, the crew can be creatures that just entered the battlefield that turn. Almost anyone can fly the Sky Skiff. Vidalcan Merchant, to the air! Weird Gremlin Thing, climb aboard! In fact, you two can crew it together. Sorry, sad camel, your power's 0. Try again. Speedway Fanatic, great choice. Look for creatures with the new creature type Pilot. They'll have abilities that play especially well with vehicles. Remember to activate the crew ability before you have to declare attackers or blockers, or it won't get out of the hangar in time. Once a vehicle is crewed, it's an artifact creature until end of turn. Its power and toughness are where you'd expect them to be, and it can do anything a creature can do. Attack, block, be enchanted or equipped, although be careful here, because it stops being a creature as the turn ends. It can even be used to crew other vehicles. Ladies and gentlemen, dwarves and Vidalcan, and everyone else, start your engines.
Hi, I'm Sarah McLaughlin. Will you be an angel? Please, call the number on your screen right now. For just $18 a month, only 60 cents a day, you'll help rescue callers from their abusers. Please call right now.